I have been many times assaulted with a knife here, with the shotguns. And they put it in my head and they took me. They grabbed me and I had to go all the way in with them in the pickup truck. They were drunk. And don't try to be special because you are special. If you're trying to be special, you're telling to every single person in the world that you are nobody. And it starts that is written by an extraterrestrial being. And that extraterrestrial being is me. What is the third world war all about? It's going to be blowing up 2 satellites, and it's going to stop all the communication about where the money is and where the knowledge is. And if you don't have by that time some printed matter, you are not going to be able to teach anything. Art is art is what's going to save our species, that's for sure.
Hi guys, Louis here. Welcome back to a new episode of the Lou Living Life podcast. Today we have a different type of interviewee. Our guest is called Jaime Ferrer. He is an artist out of Chile who has had various works of his put in big museums, not only in art pieces, but also rural art pieces like graffiti. He's also famous for that. We're going to dive a little bit into the art world. How exactly does it operate nowadays? Both the business, coming up as an artist, how do you actually get a job and become successful? And so with that introduction, here's Jaime Ferrer. How you doing, Jaime? Nice to meet you.
I'm all right. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I find it curious that, you know, you have this very, very big history, not only as how you came up as an artist, what kind of inspired you, but also how you got your inspiration. I read a little bit about you, how you've traveled a lot of the world. Mm-hmm. You've gone to different places on purpose just to study.
Yeah.
You know, the culture and how you can use that to evolve your art.
Yeah. One of the things most people don't understand is that art is a language. And it's a language that is for all the world the same one. So once you learn how to understand that language, remember the art is to communicate. You have things inside and you want to communicate. But then you don't communicate in one era. It doesn't matter if it's in 1900s or if it's going to be the 2000. It has to go through the times, even history. So I can see something that was done, let's say, 3,000 years ago, and I understand perfectly where the mind of that human being was and what was persecuting him, without having an interpretation from a writer that tells me what is convenient for him to tell me. So I become very free by the time I see something. If you go, let's say, to the medieval ages, if you really know how to see the art, you're going to, in literature, in any expression of art, you're going to see all the things that they couldn't say, but they are there. So behind the painting, you're going to see really the real reality that those people were living through.
But so you're saying most art is influenced not only by whoever, I guess, commissioned to get it done, but also the artists will leave hidden messages portraying what they're
around.
Give me an example, like something.
If you see, let's say, work from the era of Leonardo.
Okay.
Leonardo, he wasn't really a painter; he was a scientist, and but he painted also, and he painted because he wanted to leave the message. He actually used to have to write his foundings the opposite way. So he would put a mirror and he would write the other way around so you could see it on the mirror and then you could decipher what he was writing. Otherwise, he would have been killed. Everything because the Catholic Church at that time, I was raised up Catholic, so I know plenty about the topic. But Catholic Church wanted the total power. So if they read what he was saying, he would have been killed immediately. So in a way, if I know how to interpret or to see the work that I am exposed to, it's like Leonardo was talking to me. So it's a language, and it's a language that a Japanese, Chinese, a Hindi, a Indian man, or whoever is exposed to that. If you learn how to, and you have the freedom, you're going to see pretty much the same thing.
So does that mean then that a lot of your art has that type of style of message as well?
Of course, if I wouldn't have anything to communicate, I wouldn't be able to call myself an artist.
Where could one find like one of your art pieces right now?
Well, if you go on in internet and you put Jaime Ferrer artist or Chilean artist and so on, and put image, you're going to see some pieces there. They haven't really been posted by me, but a lot of people have posted some pieces from different eras. Now, I don't have a seal. What does it mean? I don't paint the same thing all my life. I paint by projects. So I can paint something that is one style, let's say for 5 years, and the next 5 years I paint in another style, or maybe I'm looking for a different method of getting my message through. But it's not that I have been committed to a style so I can be commercially easy to grab.
Yeah,
or
like
to
recognize
see.
it.
Exactly. So in a way, I sacrifice that, but I think I'm more honest to the people that I'm communicating with. So I try to grow, and that's why people were asking me the other day, what are you going to do now that you are retired? I say, what's that? I will die working. That's a point. I don't think that retirement is not to do anything, it's to continue living. So you have to continue doing things. And
no, 100%. I think if somebody stops trying, then your body also stops responding, you know? So
yeah, everything collapses. More when you get older, because the body is so intelligent that says, oh my God, that finger is not being used. Oh no, it's not being used. And suddenly that finger doesn't move anymore, and you never gain that connection with your brain, so you cannot move it. It happens to all the body. If you don't walk, if you don't think, if you don't see, everything gets terminated by the brain, because this guy is not using his body. Let's go.
And what project are you working on right now that is taking your time?
I have two things that I have been working and which are visual, and then they got interrupted by a book. One of the problems that I have seen is that people in general don't understand what art is. And the system, social system in which we live, is trying for you not to know about it. So, and there are different ways. And you're now seen as a consumer, not as a human being.
That is, in this society, at least, yes.
Yeah, in most where the power is in the hands of people who think very materialistic, in a very materialistic way, and include the Catholic Church in its time. And they wanted wealth, they wanted gold, they wanted things, and it was not a spiritual world.
When you mention the Catholic Church, I feel like that's a topic maybe we can talk about, because what do you mean by that? I mean, I feel like I'll give my example of the Catholic Church, at least from my point of view. I went to Catholic Church in ninth grade, to a Catholic school, sorry. So Catholics always felt like, to me, like people who want to be serious, but at the same time, it's hard to take them serious nowadays. I was talking to another one of our guests. I think the only religion right now that is universally respected, because it's both feared and respected, is, it's Islam, is Muslims.
Yeah.
Everybody else kind of like doesn't really follow the line that they're supposed to.
Yeah.
With Catholicism, you have the Pope, which, even though he's supposed to be this good figure, it feels like it's more just like a show, and everything in the back end is a little bit crazy. I don't know if you want to expand on that, or.
Well, the thing is that people don't ever get to think about it. We have as an example of type of life is Jesus Christ. And this is for Protestant That means Catholics where they reveal or try to be against the Catholic Church, and they became Protestants. And but Jesus Christ was Jewish, was not even Christian, neither Catholic. So once you have that in the background, you have to think about that maybe are two different organizations for social reasons became to be like that. So once again, it is like a political party that is teaching you ways in the name of Jesus Christ to make your life more sensible. Well, Jesus Christ actually was a Essenian. He was a tribe of the Jewish people, and he was hated by a lot of Jewish people. Because it was not from the same tribe. These people were...
Where the Essenians looked at more like a lower class, I guess?
Well, it depending. If you think a higher class is to go in a Rolls Royce instead of going in a little Mazda,
okay.
Can you see? It has to do with
more humble as opposed to
exactly.
In your face. Yeah.
No, so come on. No, these people were... I can't recall any image of Jesus Christ without just sandals and a tunic, or something, just a robe that would just wear.
Very simple.
Very simple. No material goods. The only thing that they knew for sure that they could carry and they could treasure was knowledge. That is within your brain. Nobody can take it from you. They can beat you up. I haven't ever seen a person being beat up where the brain just dropped knowledge in the ground. It doesn't happen. So these are the little things. If you know them, you become more and more a free person. So if I'm going to believe in something, is that something is to make me a free man, not a person that is grabbed and controlled by a system.
How do you avoid that, without, realizing that as much as we want to do that, every part of the world, whether it's people or countries or systems, somebody's at the head of it and somebody's going to control some part of it.
Yep, but I will tell you one thing. And if you're in prison, you can be totally free. As long as you know that you are in prison. If you are in prison and you are no, I don't want to be here, that you are already fighting against something that
you have no choice.
It's not happening. You don't have any control. So once again,
so you're more of a butterfly in a prison than
exactly. But it has to a little bit the mind of Papillon, the movie, that they were just in nowhere land, and you have the two angles and of two people, how they thought and how they felt free. So you have to question yourself what freedom is. Freedom actually is how you feel mentally, not how you feel physically. I know a lot of people who are handicapped they can almost not be able to move their bodies, and yet they are very free.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you achieve that once you accept your confinement, I guess.
Exactly. And then from then on, you are in a state of freedom. Once you're in a state of freedom, well, you can chew the world. There's nothing that will stop you. What is the name of that Mexican singer that was she is a woman, and she went into Brazil, and she was a prisoner in Brazil, and she was like a rock, Latin rock, a singer, probably right now is in her 50s, and she was. I also was surprised because she went into prison because of things that the husband was doing, and she was never in prison. Gloria Trevi.
¿Qué pasó con Gloria?
Gloria Trevi was in prison, but she was writing, she was drawing, she was doing things. So when she came out of prison, She had songs to sing, books to print, stories to tell. She was working. She was. It happened to be in between the four confining walls, but in her mind, she was totally free. Now, how can you tie up the brain is just with a bullet? You would have to kill the person.
And I
And
think
so that's
the only way, if I was to go to Trebia and I could do that, is that I knew it was wrong, and I was like, oh, screw it. If I'm gonna be here, I might as well do something.
well, that's being free.
You know, yeah.
Because you assume instead of being, no, I shouldn't be here because it's not that. I say, well, somehow you're caught. If you don't know how to get out of there, just make it as easy as possible for the time you're going to be there, and be constructive. Start doing things.
And for you personally, what do you use to kind of free yourself? And I'll give you an example for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, since I work a lot and my life right now is just literally work, my family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have to do things like really hard exercise, ice baths, breathing. Sometimes for me to literally just kind of let everything go and live in that moment, you know.
Mm-hmm.
As an artist, I think more than anyone, maybe, I think you want to be in that moment free from anything holding you down. So do you have a method to get to that position in your head, or is it just something that free flows?
First of all, when I decided that I would continue being an artist, because it's a gift. We all have a gift. We're all perfect people. Everybody. The only problem is you have to find what is your gift. What are you good for?
And when did you discover this? When did you start
early on? Because I sometimes you are attracted by things that other people are not. My friends used to always tell me, boy, you're so weird. Look at you. Wow, how can you see that? And please explain. And because I was born with a gift. And that was a good help in the sense that people that saw it, and I had a lot of people in my family who were architects or designers and so on, they saw that talent, that's a
as
gift,
a potential,
and so they would talk to me within that channel, and I will just explain what I saw. And this started when I was 3 years old, and a very good friend of mine was my great grandfather. So my good friends were 3 generations older than I was.
Yeah, they had the maturity to see the talent.
Yeah, they saw it and they were puzzled by it. I was a good.
Were you ever like nervous or embarrassed to tell people like early on when you were young, I'm an artist, or is that something you didn't care about? You know, I don't care what you think about me.
No, that's very important. I have been always, believe it or not, a very timid person.
Mm-hmm.
But what I have in my mind is more powerful than my fears. So what I have to say, or what I found out, is more important than if I am afraid or not. So I go and say it, and I assume whatever is the outcome. Sometimes I will be told awful things, but I didn't say them, so I don't even make myself responsible for that.
What message do you think art is, supposed to be conveying right now? As far as like issues is going on in your industry. Well, there's always problems. So
the thing is, any gift that we have as a human beings can be turned into an industry. If you are a good communicator verbally, you can be in the industry of radio or television or
sales.
Standing on a piazza, on a square, and telling something to people, you're just a communicator. And so we follow our gift, and then you do it well, money comes along. And you have to be organized. And the thing is not to be poor. Poor is when you're lacking something. And if you lack a bigger car because a bigger car makes you a better person, so on, well, you are a consumer, that's all. And you're going to be seen as a consumer, not as a human being. You will have the respect of a consumer. That means they're going to say, hey, come on, Mr. Sir, and so on, as long as you buy. If you don't buy, you're nobody. Get out of here. And so it's up to us to state and to place ourselves in the position we want to be treated like.
That's why I think our artists are a unique type of people, because society only rewards you after really you've been, doing something for 40, 50 years. At least that's what it usually feels like.
Not
It takes a
necessarily.
while.
Not necessarily. No, you can do something, not sell it, and be admired by a lot of people. And if you're communicating, you already went through.
So I like that, because that's your measure of success.
Exactly.
For me, I went to money, recognition.
Exactly. But if you are not poor, because somehow you are organized, you understand the capitalist system, and you understand how people can be controlled or free, and you have a lot of other tools, you're going to make a living no matter what, doing whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do, you can make a living. But you have to, of course, make it valuable. If you go there and say, no, I paint some little figures. No, I paint something that's very important. What I paint is going to save the world. It's going to save you. It's going to open your mind and make you a free person. What are you talking to me? Are you talking to me like I have to make $1 million? No, I will free you up. Your $1 million cannot even save you from the problem you're having physically, and you're sick.
That's true. I would agree.
So basically, it's that. It's how you sell in between. How you sell the concept. If you are saying this water is very important, well, only if you're thirsty. It's important.
It depends, it depends on the necessity that it's going to fill.
Exactly. And that makes me rich in the sense that I don't have to drink it all just to prove it that I have water to drink. Hello. I would be a tunnel, a bag of water.
Is there resistance or a big barrier just to get into that industry and the art world itself?
Yeah. First of all, is if you need to make money, it's an awful thing. Yeah. But once you understand the mechanism and the importance of it, money start flowing in. I have people sometimes that they have listened to some topics that I'm digging in, and they come up and say, I want to see that it develop. Can you work on it? I say, yes. What do you need? And sometimes it's money. Sometimes it's a space in which you have to work. Sometimes it's the environment, and people provide it to you. If you're serious enough, they are going to do it. And I have never found a problem on it. Of course, if I want a $6 million home and I need to drive a car that costs $600,000, and then I need to have my kids going to universities that are very expensive, of course I will have to produce a lot of money, but that makes you poor.
Yeah, I agree.
Because if you need so much, boy, so you're going to work just to do that? I always say that this is a little bit teasing what Catholicism is. So by the final day, I will be Saint Peter. We'll just say, Jaime, wait a second. And then I will have my audience supposedly with God. And this is a cartoon that I'm talking about. And so God is going to ask me, what do you do with your life? That's what he's going to ask me. A lot of people would answer, well, I took care of my daughter. I was so good to my father. And then I gave money to this and that. God is going to look at you like you're an idiot. And
I mean, he knows everything. So,
So he's going to say, no, I'm asking you, what do you do with your life? Meaning, I gave you some gift. What do you do with them?
I'm a big believer in that philosophy and way of thinking. The way I see it is, I took this from David Goggins. He says that for him, it's like a tryout, and he wants to make sure that when he gets there, to that interview almost type, that his response is going to be like, well, I did so much. Just look at me. I prepared myself to be the best soldier for you. So once I'm finished, then you can use me literally as something, as an agent for good. And so we're constantly on this path where we have to try and prove to ourselves every day that we're worth it. So hopefully by the time we get there, we've already surpassed so much of ourselves that we're needed.
That means at the same time that you have to be healthy. That means you have to be not thinking how much money I will squeeze out 100%. Of the other one. Is what am I doing that is going to make this world a mass of earth that's keep on spinning. So we are helping the earth to spin around, and we go at very high speed in the rotation mode. And people should really check about, but it's a lot of speed.
It feels like people think they're gonna live forever, and especially if you are a devout Christian or Catholic or anybody that's in a religious sense. You've already know that this is a very small amount of time.
Exactly. Because it's a physical time with your body, but that doesn't mean that is your life. Your life is going to be prolonged. In your case, you have kids. I don't. But you have kids. Genetically, you're already spreading the word. But then if your life leaves some documentation to be read and to be understood here, you keep on, you live a little bit more of that knowledge. That's life that you're living for the future. And if you do all of those things, then you're not going to need your body. That's why your body decays. There's no point. There is a movie that is called In Time. People should see it.
You've already added 2 movies to my list. I gotta pick up some movies.
Yeah, the movie In Time talks about that we're in the future, and you don't make money, you gain time. And then they give it to you, and they give it to you just by passing with your wrist. You touch the wrist, and you give them time, or they give you the payment. You put it in the machine, and they give you time, and you're going to live and think until 24 without having to spend your time. But from then on, your body is not going to decay, but you have to add time to it. And people should see that, because then things go into perspective. It's time what you want. Exactly. No. Time is money for them at that moment, but do you want that much time? Do you want that much money? If you don't have a purpose for money, what is money good for?
I think time is something people want if you're afraid of losing too much.
Because that means you're wasting your life.
Exactly.
If you're wasting your life, of course. But if you're using every single minute of your life, the time when it comes up, you're saying, okay, next, and just to move on.
And what kind of message do you think you try and convey, in your art to kind of transcend time and leave something for the next generation?
Well, first of all, is the understanding of order, disorder, chaos, and anarchy. Those 4 words. So people want to go in order or in disorder. Well, those are standards set by a human being. That's all. The mind of a human being. This is organized. These are the rules. This order. If it's not within those rules, it's disorder. Well, it's all questionable. So in the arts, that's something that you have to really know about. And then you have anarchy, is that you are very disgusted with the concept of order and disorder, and you destroy both. And then comes chaos, and then people think that chaos is a disorder. Chaos is actually the perfect order. The leaf in a tree are in chaos. You cannot really go with the equation trying to analyze why the leaves are in that order, why there are so many leaves, why they are so little, why some decayed, why some receive light, why not. But could you say that that is not perfect? When you see the waves being shined by the sun on the ocean, you cannot even count them. Would you say that they are in disorder?
No, definitely not.
No. And so that's chaos. Chaos is something that you cannot really explain. It's there, but you could not say it's wrong. It is what it is. And
what happens when we get to a society where we have it so good that we are trying to avoid chaos at all costs, and just have complete order in everything?
Well, that's because somebody's trying to govern you. Somebody is trying, a human mind is trying to set up the rules. And if you follow them...
Do you see that, apart from the Catholic Church, do you see that also in governments a lot?
Oh, absolutely.
How about the U.S. right now?
Absolutely. It was always like that. Remember, Europeans didn't conquest this new world. They invaded this world.
Mm-hmm.
They came, a social group came starving or escaping from prisons because they were criminals. And like 4 or 5 people came because they were just running out of intellectual persecution. But there were very few. Most of us, our societies are composed by hungry people and by people with the background.
Is that part of the chaos that it takes to create these type of societies that we even exist?
Yes. The thing is now it's collapsing. Because
I always see like great figures and throughout history.
Mm-hmm.
We try to paint them as perfect, but as soon as we put a very, very big
Mm-hmm.
microscope on there, we see that they're very imperfect. And I always ask myself, does it take these very imperfect people to get this type of action done?
Well, if you're an observer, you choose the good things and the bad things and see what are the ones that you're going to use, and you have to be responsible for that. And that's part of being free. So you see I see people who are very, very, very damaging for society, but one or two things are not so bad. And
do you have an example of that right now?
I prefer not to talk about.
Right.
Yeah, because we move to another section. I prefer to leave it general,
Okay,
so people can have the freedom of indicate themselves to that person.
that's what the news should be.
Exactly.
The news should be like that, but it doesn't exist like that.
Because people right now
It's become polarized.
No, we became comfortable.
Okay.
Part of the order told us that being comfortable was the goal of your life. And actually, you have to be a little bit uncomfortable. So if not, you don't keep on living.
I agree.
If I paint the perfect painting now, I'm out of work. So hopefully I will find something that I can improve in it or in the way I'm saying it. So I keep on living and doing my best and using all the time that life has given me. So I have to live in a not perfect world. I have to live in something that is good and bad, and you choose.
And how do you get yourself to that uncomfortable position each day?
For me, it's very easy. Very easy, because I'm a person that has never been embarrassed of observing.
Okay.
I can sit on a stool and see something for 2 hours, no problem. I don't feel I'm wasting my time.
Do you do it to people watch, or do you just do it to see the collective? And I'll tell you why. That used to be a fascination of
Yeah.
mine when I was growing up. Just standing somewhere, watching people, and then in my head making a guess of how that person characteristic would be like,
Yeah.
their actions would be like, how they will react. And I feel like, that's something that for me I found it interesting because you can paint a pattern. You can kind of draw something. I can't draw for
Yeah.
anything. I
Yeah,
can't
no, no, no,
create art, but I can
the
understand
concept, yeah.
the concept of how
Yeah.
you get to that. So I find that very, very interesting.
Well, I'm a little bit more abstract just to get to that point. Let's say yesterday I went out and I stood in the street that goes right next to the Palmetto Expressway, and I started looking at the cars. And the beauty of it is that these cars were going between 55 and 80 miles an hour. I was standing. So my life and the life of the people moving was very different. They were living at very fast speed. They were consuming their bodies at a different dynamics than I was mine. But not only that, I noticed that most cars are white, black, or gray. Once in a while, you're going to find something that is wine red, dark red, a dark blue, and that's it. Because I grew up in the 1960s, in the 60s, you could see cars of all colors. And nowadays, you don't see colors.
Does it feel more like a herd with like little?
Well, and so the questions, once again, this is the way I start thinking. So the question was, is this an economical reason, or this is the state of the mind of the people in this area in the United States? So why could be a question of money? Because probably yellow, as a painter, I know it's a more expensive color. Red is a very expensive color. And all the colors that has a gold in it, for it not to oxidize, are going to be more expensive. So there are colors that you can buy that are very inexpensive, and some that are very expensive. The other thing is that black colors, dark colors in the industry dries a bit faster than any other color. That's why Ford used to paint his cars black for all the community. And then if you needed a gray or a blue one, you had to have a special order. This is for the Model T, the very early one. Yeah. And because it dried faster. So that was a chosen color because just for money. And in this case, sometimes I think it's the same thing for black, white, and gray. That basically the cost of the pigments are less. And maybe there is something in the drawing. I don't know much about it, but I start speculating. I don't really know the reason, but I start questioning. And just by looking at thousands and thousands of color and very few of color. So, and at the same time realizing that my speed was different than the others. Once you leave and you allow yourself to see those angles, then when you make a decision, it's going to be totally different than the person that is just thinking of buying the most expensive shoe.
And do you think maybe like part of the problem is that to be able to be in the mindset where you're completely free of your surrounding and you can actually analyze things, depending on how they're behaving, you also have to be outside of kind of like the race we're all running, where we're in that kind of flow of 9 to 5, get up, doing that comfortable thing where we're supposed to get home, turn on TV or be on your phone, relax, go to sleep, do it again.
One of the things that the commercial system is trying to do to all of us is to lose the awareness of who you are. So people in general nowadays, and even more younger people, don't know who they are. They don't have identity.
I was talking to this, actually, my last guest was a 20-year-old, and her opinion is the other way around. they want to be so identified that they've created a million different categories, different pronouns. They're trying to be so individualized
But
that they feel more lost, like they don't know what they're talking about.
yeah, because they're trying to be somebody instead of looking who they are. If I told you that you are perfect as you are, and then you look in between your legs and you have to have one genital or the other, well, you start from there. All the rest is just qualifications. That was a qualification. That's all. It doesn't matter. So in my case, I always knew who I was. So I had my own identity. And remember, I was white, blonde, blue eyes, in a world where all people are dark skinned.
In Chile?
Of course. And with dark,
I've never visited Chile. It's one of the few places I have to go.
It's not black, but it's a white skin, kind of a more like a oriental, grayish skin, and with a straight black hair. With the
like Native Americans?
Yes, a little bit more, less pronounced, the noses and so on. They are a little more Asian in the looks. They're more, if you go and check on the history, probably people that were in that part of the world came more from the east side of the world than the western side. So they say a light, you see in American Southern Indians, we're going to see the eyes are a little bit more, it's more Asian looking.
So you were more the minority in your country.
I was absolutely a minority, and not only a minority, but the people, I look like the people that abuse the people. So as soon as the people saw me, immediately they took distance and says, this is one of the people that make me being a person with little education and no money and not a privileged position in the society.
And so were there real consequences where,
of course, the people
you were being discriminated or not giving opportunities?
I will give you just one very light tip. I am married to a woman who is darker skin and looks more like a Chilean woman. And I go to a supermarket and I buy a tomato and I say, how much is that tomato? My tomato is going to come up to around $1 and her tomato is going to come up 30 cents. I tell you, that's one of the way. The other is the way that they approach.
Is that actively still happening?
Of course.
And
it happens in Mexico.
Are white Chileans like speaking about it or doing anything about it?
No, they don't even notice.
No, that's kind of funny. You know,
they're happy in their stage of privilege.
Yeah.
So being discriminated to them, this is a Spanish mentality. Remember that we inherit Spanish.
You know why I think that's kind of funny? Because if you really look at anybody in South America, there's so many different mixes. Even if you're white, you have something from somebody else.
Exactly.
You know, and the other thing is here in the U.S. now, me having grown up in this country, the majority in this country, which is white people, are experiencing the reverse. They're being discriminated against by the minority because it's seen, at least from, what I think, is that if you're white, then you have that inherited privilege and doubt, and now you don't have to have a conversation. We can't have a real conversation with some of the minorities. So that's why I appreciate that I'm also Hispanic, because it feels like if you're just white here in this country right now, you lose a lot of your opinions because you're supposed to be privileged.
But actually, it's not like that. Because, and this is why I was talking about my position in Chile. White people feel that they are in this disadvantage just because they allow it to be in disadvantage. Okay. In my case, I would go, and when the tomato was $1 and I knew already by fact that could be 30 cents, I would say, come on, give me a break. I have to work for my money. Will you take 50, 40 cents for it? They will laugh and they will give it to me for 30 cents. Because you're not biting into that I am better than you, that I am the privileged group. And yes, I do have the money to pay $1 for your something that you're selling me. Because I don't need to go into that position of supposedly power in which I am only reassuring me that I'm not a loser.
I think that's what you call, and I saw one of your videos on YouTube, ego. Being able to actually let go of ego. I think most people don't understand that concept. I think ego is just something I do as a man thing, but it's really applied to anybody. What do you think about that?
Well, I always say I have been many times assaulted with a knife here
In Chile?
in many places. The
Let's
worst
talk
place.
about that because I've been assaulted too.
Well, I was assaulted
And it's awful.
in Hawaii one time with shotguns.
Mm.
And they put in my head and they took me. They grabbed me and I had to go all the way in with them in the pickup truck. They were drunk.
Where were you? Just in the street?
I was in very close to my hotel, but in one of the views. So it's if you drive in Kauai at least, the highways are two ways, and then in every sometimes you have like a little cove and you have a beautiful view to the ocean.
Okay.
And so what I did, I walked probably 3 miles or 4 miles and I stayed there. And while I was there looking at the sunset, came this pickup truck, very loud, very old and poor in the condition of the vehicle, with these 3 men, big men, with a gun, and then in the back section, full of beer cans, all in the pickup, and they came up very angry and very aggressive towards me and trying to intimidate me with the guns. And instead of, and this is why I am bringing the experience. Instead of going, you shouldn't be doing this or that, I say, hey guys, like they wouldn't have anything in their guns. No bullets, no guns, no drunkenness, no nothing. I say, and I start talking. This is very beautiful. Then they realize that I have a heavy accent. And they start just like backing off. And they start calling me in the beginning Howley. Howley is a white man that goes and messes with the girls, the native girls. And so it's a guy who is a bum, white, that does nothing constructive for their society. And
more somebody trying to take over their stuff.
Exactly. So I was, once again, they saw me, they said, Howley, we're going to go and bug him and make him have a bad time. And they tried to do that, but I didn't react to it. I follow.
And they just let you go?
Yeah. No, they took me and they said, we're going to introduce you to our family. And so everybody drunk and they still pointing at me. And we drove probably a good 20, 30 minutes all the way into the hills. And we arrived in a place, 2 families lived there. They introduced me to...
There's no way.
Yeah, to the the girls. They introduced me to other friends and so on. And they start making dinner. And they gave me some food. And the food they gave me was like the leftovers. And they were always just serving beer on my glass. They gave me a beer and they would pour me. So
more beer for the Howley.
For the Howley. And so to make me to lose total control. So little by little, I was always throwing the drink. I will not drink at all. I don't drink myself, actually. But
at that point, did you still feel like you were in danger?
No, totally. Yes, now I was in a place that nobody knew where I was. And nobody could even find me. And one of the girls started being very coquette with me, very light, and I will treat her very respectful, with a lot of distance, and the same for the lady. And they couldn't make me bite into this, that this girl was giving herself for me to do whatever
Yeah,
I
I guess they
wanted to.
wanted a reason to hurt you, and you weren't giving
And
it to them.
basically, and so I kept on talking. I like nothing would happen. These people were so nice that brought me here. They gave me this wonderful food, and suddenly the lady, the grandmother, comes up and said, and they something said to the people, and they changed the plate that I was served by another plate with food that was very rich and beautiful and tasty. And I ate a little bit of that. I was very grateful. And suddenly one of them come up and said, do you want for us to bring you to your hotel? And I say, yes. Well,
So you passed the test.
No.
When the grandma,
No. So then I said, okay, until here, I'm alive. Who knows what's going to happen nighttime now if I'm going out all that road, dirt road, if I'm going to make it to the highway. And more if I was going to make it into the hotel. Well, actually, nothing happened. We say goodbye. We hugged each other after the bedtime. But basically, what it teaches you is that better to go with the flow and not to judge and with your first intuition.
So how did you get back to the hotel? Then?
They brought me.
Oh, they ended up taking you?
Yeah. And now they knew where I lived and so on. They knew my name, everything.
That's crazy. That's like, I feel like you got lucky, but at the same time, it's interesting.
I follow the chaos. I follow the order that was not the one I decide. And the only freedom that I had at the time is that I freak out and start banging on them and then gaining a bullet in my head, or I can just go with the flow and see where it will bring me. Maybe I had something to learn, maybe I didn't. I had no idea, but I just allowed to flow without being the antagonistic and giving them the reason why to shoot at this Howley.
I think for most people it's that loss of power. At least for me, that's what happened. After a while, after I got robbed at gunpoint, I was working at Radio Shack at the store, and somebody robbed us at gunpoint. He put it in my head. He followed me in the back. He told us, if you leave here, you're going to die. And we're shoot you. For me, it felt like that taking away of power completely, where I had no control whatsoever. And that really messed with me for a while. But I really like how you're saying it,
But you took control. You took control.
I took control afterwards, but I'm saying, based on your experience, what you're saying, where the chaos was already made by somebody else. Somebody already decided the order. Yeah. I never had that mindset, and most people don't have that mindset. So they become victims to
let's say that happens to
that
me.
event.
That happens to me. The first thing I said, I'm in the same position than you. I'm working here. I'm not the owner. None of this property belongs to me, and probably half of it doesn't even belong to the owner. It belongs to the company that supplies here. So do as you wish. That is the attitude that I would take. Because the only thing I have to do, for the same reason that I told you before, that God is going to ask you, what did you do with the life I gave you? And in this case, I will save my life as much as possible. Allow the guy to do it. The karma is in that guy, not in me. And if I can do something sensible, I would do it. But if I don't have any opportunity, it would be stupid.
You might have also messed with them too, because
of course, but you have to become not the antagonistic part, but just to say, if they ask you, do you agree with it? I would say, no, I don't agree, but
it is what it is.
This is it. And if you want to take a danger of that gun, the only thing you have to do is acknowledge the power of the gun.
When did you get this feeling of just, I know who I am because I'm in control of what I accept, and everything else just doesn't matter. When did you get so confident where you can just walk like that?
No, I don't know. I always had it. I knew that there is a different way than to. I have so many stories, but there's a different way to come out uh, without making yourself in the antagonistic point. The guy went there not to find you and us. He went there to find goods that he could sell. And so let's keep it in that
Hmm.
perspective. If you become an idiot, it's you're providing that information. If you don't do that, and then the other thing, they pay you to sell or they pay you to be a guard of the place.
Hmm.
They pay you as a salesman. Well, what has this thing to do with the salesman? Yeah, I don't see the money. I don't see the person asking for the item. Nothing. So it's to be enough cool-minded to analyze what you have in front, and that an artist has to do it every single second. I see my painting and I cannot say, "Oh, I love that corner. Oh, how beautiful! I want for that other corner to be just as beautiful." If I find a corner that makes me that idiot, I don't continue painting.
Hmm.
I stop. I do something else because that's
It's no
is
longer real for you.
no, not only it's not the way. I'm going to achieve just chewing gum. That's going to be my reward. I say,
Do you have anybody in your space that's up and coming, like young, that you're like this person? Within a couple years, it's gonna be big or revolutionary.
my experience is that I I don't give no no nobody. I'm surprised when somebody is doing something that is special, but I don't control their future. I sometimes don't even know their past. So by something that they are doing now is not going to make them that
Hmm.
perfect for the rest of their life. So you're doing this well? Yes, well. Today I had a person that
So there's no Da Vinci's,
no, it could be, but
there's no
Da
Picasso's right
Vinci,
now.
Da Vinci, o sea, Leonardo was Leonardo once he did what he did, not before. He didn't have a mother saying, "Oh my God, you're going to be just a thinker. You're going to be a scientist. You're going to be this. You are going to make tons of money."
Chaos.
No, just what the destiny
Hmm.
is has for your life. That's all. And once you're doing something, you continue. And so today, what I was going to say, a person asked me about a painting. And I say, yes, you should go for this corner, this other section, this other, there, take care of that. But am I doing it well? I said to the person, you do in the daytime about 99.9% of the things you do are perfect. I don't have time to say how good you are for 99%, 0.9% of the good things you do. But I do have time for that one little
Hmm.
0.1 that is questionable. It's not even good or bad. Who cares? But it's
Intrigues.
questionable. And I will spend my time for you to improve that. The rest of it will be just, what do you want? To put more honey on top of
Hmm.
the honey? I don't have time for that. My life is short. Don't waste it on that. Because these people want for you to tell them how beautiful, how wonderful they are.
That's true.
So that means they're not very serious.
Hmm.
The question itself puts them in the bag of the people who are not serious. It's all about them. Well, most of society today is in that bag.
Yeah, there's a lot there to unpack. I think more than anything, it's been social media. I think it's also made that a bigger issue. Where since we have these little bubbles, these little profiles,
Mhm.
these little characterizations, we think we're special in every way, and we're trying to improve that, at least that
Yeah.
picture or that illusion.
Mhm.
And so what ends up happening, we become selfish because we want everybody to see how good we are instead of not caring and just improving what we need to do to better
Why
ourselves.
don't we the question change it? Know how do we fit here? If we are perfect and we live in this wonderful chaos, so we're perfect here, but we have to figure out where our part fits in this world. And that's what we have to find. I'm not trying to find an identity, but this is a problem even with education. In the United States, don't educate yourself. They certificate yourself. They give
That's
you a
true.
certificate, but that doesn't make you anything. Oh no, I spent 6 years in such a lovely, wonderful, extra, super duper university that cost me millions of dollars. Yeah, this is a certificate. It's a paper written that certificate is a certificate that you did all of that and you spent all that money wasting the money and you didn't learn as much as you think you did and so you're a loser. That's what you're telling me with that paper.
I think it's also part of the machine. You know,
Of course,
the machine
is
takes over, and you think just by fulfilling the machine steps, the order, you guarantee success.
yeah. The reason why I became a decent painter is because when I went to university and the School of Art, I knew only one thing after getting out of there is that I learned how to learn.
Hmm.
I didn't learn what I had to do. I
I like that.
learned the method of learning. So as soon as I was given all the honors, all the things that they could give you in at the end of school, I couldn't care less. I don't even know where the paper works.
Hmm.
Couldn't care less. But I knew one thing. I knew how to learn because all of those things were already obsolete. What I just learned was obsolete in this world. It was past.
Do you think everybody deserves to have that type of awakening? You know, that that aha, where you're not just supposed to learn what gets fed to you. You're supposed to learn, you know, how to actually learn,
Exactly.
how to actually interact with something, make it work in your head, so you can actually apply it over and over.
Well, that's what should be taught. With the beauty, how I discovered this is that I went to the university after Allende was under. The president of Chile, and that all the leftist countries in the world supported and actually made him lose common sense of what the country was going to. So we had a totalitarian government. A lot of people had been killed, fair and unfair. For me, any killing is unfair, unless it's something that if you're going to shoot at me and I have a gun, I will just shoot at you.
Of course.
There's no, I don't have any options there. But in this type of political games, very unfair things go through. So I went to university in a time in which a lot of the good teachers have been chased away, killed, or they were just at any time jumping into
It's sounding a lot like communism.
well, but in this case was a fascism. It was the military that they were killing the leftists that not necessarily were dangerous. They thought differently, but they were intellectuals. They were not people with guns. And so very few of them could remain in Chile, of those people. And they were very particular, very intelligent, brilliant people. And they taught me how to do things. But they taught me what they did, not what they learned. This is very important. Because if somebody tells you, no, you grab this way and remember to go all around because you are going to have most of the surface of the bottle grabbed, so it's probably not going to fall, and they give you the awareness of it, then you learn beautifully because those people did that every single day. So they taught me how to paint because that's what they did, paint. Most of the teachers teach you what somebody else wrote.
Taught them, yeah.
So they don't really
They
know
become
how to do.
regurgitators.
So they pass information, which is lovely. Now, nothing wrong with it. But how about if a investor driving the Tesla, paying for the Tesla, you get a meeting with Mr. Tesla?
It's much a different opportunity, of course.
You're going to do from then on.
It's like the carrot and the stick.
Exactly.
You know?
So the beautiful thing is that when I was taught by people who did what, and they exposed themselves of what they were teaching me. And in a moment that politically was very, very delicate. Very delicate.
That's kind of what it feels like here in the US, at least, with the political setting where it is infiltrating to the educational system, and I'm a little bit like worried myself because I have kids that are starting to enter that realm, and I'd rather just them teach them, that practical stuff, where if I can understand how this works, then I can also apply that understanding to other stuff and figure it out myself. Instead of just regurgitate.
Well, but that is your mission as a father, and the mission of your wife as a mother, in which the people say, "Oh, so has a better shoe than mine," or "The ball is beautiful and is the one that goes on TV." If you explain them that the beauty is just because this is red and the eye was white by itself, and actually as a ball they bounce exactly the same, and they do the service exactly the same, and the only difference is that the person who chose the red ball is paying $300 more for the ball than you, who pay only $25 for the white one. Make a decision. I know I want the red one. Okay, start working for the $300.
No, I think that's a mistake. In my opinion,
Can you see? But I'm saying
that's how it is.
The kids are not idiots. I say, will I work and make $300 to buy the red ball while the other one gives me the same surface? They wouldn't even think it twice. I love white, Daddy.
They would think if society or their parents made the red ball important, as a self-fulfilling
that's
item or
that's the thing. You have to teach them how to think, and the other ones is because the parents don't know who they are and they want to be. Doesn't sound too good. And want to be, be. Period.
One of the things that I was excited to talk to you about was George told me you had a lot of crazy stories. The one you told me about Kauai is already crazy because that feels like a movie in itself, or like an episode of a Netflix show. Do you have any other stories like that where you're just like everything seemed perfect, all of a sudden chaos ensued, and obviously you're still here, so.
There are many. Sometimes when you come about, I used to be married before than the woman that I'm married with right now, which has been all my life since I'm I think 20 years of age, has been my good friend. And then suddenly I realized that I was better married to my good friend. Yeah, but it wasn't a choice that I made, actually. It was made later on, but life took it for me. I married a woman that was born in Belgian Congo, so in Africa. I say the name Belgian Congo doesn't exist anymore, but that's the era in which she was there. And her parents were missionaries there. They were Christian missionaries, and she grew up there. in between black people, and she thought she was wrong, and because she was white, she used to play with black dolls and so on. And she had always a division because she was African because she was born there, but her mother was from Switzerland and her grandmother from Switzerland. Her grandfather was from Belgium. Her mother was from Belgium. Her father was from Belgium, Congo, yet has an American citizenship because her grandfather was from America, the United States. So her identity was all over. And when she went to South America, she went to Bolivia and to work. She was a teacher, a English teacher for a foreign schools, for I would say international schools. And so she went to Bolivia, and then she went into Chile. Then I met her. Well, time went by, and all this question of identity, who I am, where and what is the language that I have to speak? Do I have to learn more Spanish? Is French good enough for me, and English, and so on? Once she became, we came here to the United States, and we were living up in Connecticut. She was going to the University of Connecticut, but then she started digging a little bit more on herself and her feelings. And she found out after years that she was gay. Okay. And so many people that were born I was born in 1956, so I'm 67 years old. And the thing is, for my group of people, for my generation, to say that your wife was gay, was a lesbian, was like, how can you say that? And imagine in a Catholic world. But I never had a problem. And the reason being is that she was gay. I gave as a man, as a person, that I care for her until today. I don't blame her on anything.
Do you think she was always gay, and that's why she was looking for identities?
I actually think she's not gay, but
really,
but she think it is, and I respect it. What
does that mean exactly, though? Like
that sometimes your need of finding who you are makes you dig into a comfortable hole. Of course, it's for a man to understand a man is a lot easier than for a man to understand a woman.
I would agree with that.
For different natures, yeah. Now, the only way to understand a woman is to start first with the pockets full of respect. If you have respect for your human being, male or female, doesn't matter, you're going to get in a good relationship with respect. But that's not taught in our society. Respect is something that is mentioned, but nobody really wants to do it. And so in my case, I think she was looking for her being comfortable at the same time. To be with a man like me that questions everything is not very easy. Of course, it's not going to be easy. Now, I don't think I'm right. You can tell me, go to hell. I say, okay, give me the road because I would love to know it.
Well, I mean,
I don't take it as something bad.
Because you know who you are. You understand that you come from a good place, and everything else is really irrelevant. Now, but that's one of the big issues here in this country, the whole LGBTQ movement. You know, where do you think that's just all whitewash, people trying to be controlled by society, or do you think maybe it could be real and people are just doing it to kind of find themselves along the path?
It is real to some extent, because I know people who are gay and they were born with all their genes in different plates. So I understand. I have no one bit of a problem. The problem is when that becomes a social issue. If you put yourself not as a gay person, but as a social gay with rights and this and that. It's like me being a man having different rights than a woman. No, we have all the same rights. We all breathe. We all need food.
So you think it comes from a place where they're trying to get privilege and
Exactly.
skip the line?
Exactly. That's all. Or trying to make it easier for themselves. Because in this case, if you have to be respectful and listen to a male idiot to say something like, "Hey, I won," because he jumped the court and went through. Men get so happy about it. A female would say, "Idiot." Probably you could have tripped and hurt yourself. People are in the ground, the male are in the ground bleeding, and they just having a ball because they just hurt themselves. We're different species, that's all. But sometimes to understand that, you have to be very respectful. If you don't want to go into that world, well, maybe it fits you to be gay. No, I'm not saying that gay people are those, but I know a bunch of people that out of being comfortable become gay. And sometimes I think it's the case of my ex. But why I tell you the story?
Interesting.
I tell you the story because in my generation, to say what I'm saying is like,
duh.
Not only duh, but it's like, are you really sure that you want to say that? Don't you think that you maybe had your tool too short or too unhappy, and that's why you couldn't make that woman happy? You have for all angles people ready to attack you and to hurt you. And I couldn't care less. Can you see? I say whatever you want. Please, you're entitled to it.
I think most people that end up criticizing like that have experienced something that's also taken away their power.
Sometimes it could
happen. And I really think the majority of people who criticize are people who haven't been able to criticize themselves fully. So they have to like show that.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting. So to say that even that, somebody can be, I don't want to say coerced, but convinced in some kind of bubble that you're also gay, even if you're not gay, is very, very interesting to me. And it also talks about social norms.
But I respect that because it's what's going on today.
Yeah.
I bet you a lot of the people who are trying to find who they are sexually, I don't know how they do it, but I have to just look between my legs. And everybody who looks between the legs, I know there are cases that you have the two type of genitals. It's okay. But it's very rare that you can start from there. Okay, it happens that I am male, and then you go through. But then you're facing yourself. No, you're not trying to escape who you are. And then you are going to find yourself and going to be a very happy person instead of being this person who is trying to figure out a new name for who they are. Is that sad? No, but you don't understand me. Of course I don't. It's obvious I don't understand you. So let's get off of that issue. Let's move on. Tell me.
It feels like part of the reason we haven't been able to move on is that it keeps being like put in your face. And at least for my generation, I'm in my 30s now, it's become a position, okay, this is getting a little weird, and we need to start talking about it and defining things by order. Because when we leave a lot of space to be defined by whatever happens, then these type of problems happen, Yeah. We're going to keep having these little recurring issues because every generation wants to feel special.
But why? Why they're not born special from the beginning and they just leave that issue aside? I was born, okay, I'm breathing, yes. I am hungry, yes. I can see, wonderful, that's a privilege. I can smell, another privilege. And from then on, you are on. That's all you need.
Well, hopefully more people listen.
Well, the idea is to accept you're a human being. You're not better. You're not worse. And do what you have. And don't try to be special because you are special.
Mm.
If you're trying to be special, you're telling to every single person in the world that you're nobody.
That makes sense.
But if you feel I'm special, what does it mean to be special? I feel I'm alive. I feel that I have the right of food, not the right of somebody bringing me food. I have the right of breathing, not the right of breathing good air. You have to look for those. You have the right to drink, but nobody has to bring the water to you. You don't have rights for that. You have to walk until you find the water, that's what you have to do. So the problem is that the commercial system that we have right now tells you that you are entitled to everything you think. And actually, nature does not give you that right.
No, nature is very chaotic, as you were talking.
Well, exactly.
It feeds off on chaos.
Exactly. You are hungry, now you start looking around.
And when you look something around, something else has to die for you to be able to feed yourself.
But dying now is a gift. That moment gave you the priority of life, so you have to be very happy, and the other being gave their life for you to continue yours. So be very respectful and be very happy and be very grateful. You're not a winner, just be grateful. This is not about amounting things. I bought 6 cows because I'm going to eat them. Are you kidding? You're going to go for 2 ribs and you're going to be stuffed. Start looking for people to eat the rest of the animal, because otherwise it will be a waste of a life.
I agree.
So
it's
like
just
putting things in.
It's hard to live in that moment and at the same time, not live like squirrels gathering nuts. Where you're like, man, I feel like if I don't, something bad's gonna happen, and then I'm not gonna have where to draw from. And I think most people have that.
Yeah, and I understand, but think about that. Is you're entitled to that thinking, but at the same time, you should be honest with yourself that you are into the world of fear.
True.
I drive my motorcycle. People ask me, why do you ride your motorcycle? I say, just not to be killed.
Just not to be killed.
That's all. People say, what? I say, well, I move from point A to point B, but the most important point is that I have to arrive alive. So if I'm aware that I am a moving target, but I am a target, I have the chances that probably I'm going to make it well to point B. If I think I'm entitled to the road and the motorcycle is the fastest one, and that my skin is invincible, and once I'm going to fall off at 100 miles an hour, nothing is going to happen to me. Well,
bam.
Hey guy, you deserve it. Are you dead? See you there. But the person shouldn't be here. Yes, but you're so small they didn't know that you were there. No, he's distracted. Yes, and you allowed it to be distracted. You have not going to the lawmakers and say that if you are caught with the telephone while you're driving or while you're walking on the road, you're going to be persecuted as you were having a gun, loaded gun in your hand. Because I have seen so many people lose their teeth. I'm not kidding you. Because I observe, I see what happens. I've seen people losing their teeth because they trip because they are on the cell phone. Now,
it's also they don't want to like one of the things I see a problem is with social media is their time sucking machines. They literally kind of plug you in. I personally hate a lot of social media, the short term, the short form where it's like scroll. It literally feels like you're sucked in and nothing else matters. So you become unaware of everything around you, and it feels like a drug, literally just grabbing your attention.
But once again, it's because it makes you feel important.
Correct.
Why you're not important? That's my question. Who told you were not important?
I think it's people don't understand that time is relative to whatever you want to make it.
Exactly. So why do you think you are not important? I have 6 million people following me. What a drag. What a drag. So if you really
That's
see
me,
yourself,
George. We need more followers.
it's like, no, but it's good to have followers for the right reasons.
Yeah, that's true.
But if you're following and listening to this, and you're driving, and the thing is not just in sound in your stereo, but you're with your cell phone, please stop right there.
I agree.
Stop right there, because this is not the point. The point is for us to share a moment, and that's it. We're going to share a moment. We're going to grow up after that, and we're going to take the things we understood, the things we didn't understand, we check them out later or dismiss them. But that's what it is. But we don't have to be hooked up. So I have a system. Every time I get into the internet, I erase memory on my computer, in my laptop, and in my cell phone. So I get freedom. Why do I gain freedom? Because then the system, the digital system, doesn't know what I like exactly.
For me, it'll be impossible with my job, with being able to keep track of appointments and meetings and
wonderful
deadlines.
Keep a telephone for that. But when you look for things that are interesting for you, have another one.
Well, the only problem with that is my wife might get suspicious. Why do you have two phones?
Go and check it out. Go and check it out. I love motorcycle. I love this. I love the other. And so,
but that's not a bad idea.
But in a way, is that because people are open books, and what happen with that information, the person is going to be fed what they like. Let's
100%.
say I look for this bottle of water. The system already knows it. The next news are going to be about a silver stream of water someplace else. Oh, and then they see that you saw that, and they tell you, no, let's say in Turkey is the perfect water for you to go and look. And so then there comes all the airplanes, companies selling you the tickets, and then they giving you, the banks giving you a loan for you to do that. I don't want that, because at the end, the only thing I will have for the next week is just water of all kinds and with all type of name. And what I really want is something that I don't know.
Well, then we have to start preaching, looking from outside perspectives and being willing to receive new information. For me, I've always had that thing where I say my biggest talent is learning. Mm-hmm. I learn faster than anybody else, because of that curiosity is, why does this work this way? So I'm not as talented as you, where I can
no.
figure something out and then have somebody actually see what I envisioned.
Yeah.
It's much different. So I really appreciate that type of, thinking and
it's an angle
and
that's
brain.
all. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, people don't realize how they have attached that ball to their ankles, and it's heavy, and they have to drag it, and they want a identity. They want to be different. Come on, how can you be different if you're doing the same thing that everybody else is doing? How do you want to be treated?
I think it's also hard if you don't have an example. And for most people, if I can't see it be done, it's also hard for me to
we are right now at least 30, 40 minutes talking. Okay. Have you heard my telephone?
No.
It's on. I didn't turn it off. I even forgot. This is how much people will look for me in general in my phone. Now, in my work, yes, they look for me and they check. In the computer, yes, they have to go into a mailbox and they have to write, but in my phone,
personal space,
exactly.
Peace.
So we're all entitled. I don't feel less important because, I don't know what my brother is doing, and he's my brother, and he has not called me. And that I have so many friends around the world that thank God they're respectful and they don't call me. I couldn't answer them, the amount of people that I know. I don't need that. I already know it. I don't need for you to know that I have 6 million followers. I already know it.
Yeah, because you're happy, and I love that, because I'd say no matter how big you are, if you understand that life is about those interactions, that kind of feeling in the
Mhm.
moment, you can really get along with anybody. You know.
Exactly. Nobody's less than you. Huh? And and that is important. They can be more stupid, and then they are more than you, because they are taking decisions that really are hurting themselves, not hurting you much about, because you can just jump out of the wagon right away. But they're hurting themselves, and so you say, okay, that's what they are. At least they're honest, and they're talking about. Or some of them they think they're not, and so wonderful. That's how it is.
Before we wrap up, I wanted to ask any physical art or work that you're doing right now that somebody can go and find or look at, or are your projects right now just
Well,
kind of
right now,
in
what I didn't
development?
end telling you, one of my projects is that I found myself that the world is totally digital, that the
Hmm.
world is on a phone, in a telephone, and people are forgetting how to read.
If you
They
think about that, wait till you see AI, and I really think if you think it's a phone, it's going to be our brains uploaded somewhere.
Well, but think, if you want to think money on something valuable, try to keep your brain as healthy as possible, because probably you're going to be the very few amount of people who are going to be able to use the brain. And you're going to be the person who everybody will want to learn from, because you know how to use the brain and you know who you are. So that's the main wealth that you have. So what I was saying before, because people don't know how to read anymore, because they cannot read more than just 2 paragraphs, and then they read the second one and they give you a call back, say, so when was this going to be? I said, but I wrote in the paragraph before. Why are you asking me again? Did you read or not? So knowing that that's the attention that people are having for reading, I am struggling with a book that I'm writing. And the book is only about question and short answer. Question, short answer. Question, short answer. And then in the back of the book, it says, if you want to know how I have this information, turn the book around and start from the back. And so it's the same question
Hmm.
with a paragraph, but a paragraph that probably was going to have doubted more than 50 lines at the most. It's written in English and Spanish.
Is that some kind of test?
Well, I don't know what it's going to become, but the idea is to leave the information about what art is all about, what is the language of art, and it starts that is written by an extraterrestrial being, and that extraterrestrial being is me. My mom, every time I was 3 years old, and from then on, I would ask her a question. She would go bananas and say, my God, my dear, what world do you come from? And she was always asking, ¿de qué mundo vienes? ¿Por qué? Because I had in my mind questions that I was seeing, that I could see, and she couldn't understand why I was asking this question. Well, from that viewpoint, knowing that I am that type of a human being that looks for answers, I will give you some answers that the system, the commercial system, do not want for you to know. Otherwise,
Hmm.
they're not going to be able to put that ball in your wrist. So basically, that is my project. I have to now translate it to English. I will correct that, but I want for somebody else to translate it. I wrote and this is very important to understand. We don't speak Spanish. We speak Castilian.
Castilian.
Castilian. Spanish is also Euskera. That's a language that's spoken by the Basque people in the northern part. And Catalan is another language, and is Spanish also. Remember that we had a dictator that was called Franco, and Franco tried to unify the country and made the language Spanish, but it was Castilian. So he called it Spanish. But nowadays in Spain, a lot of people are going back to speak the language of their region, just for the same problem of identity. So let's pay attention that probably the person that made Spanish the name of the language we're speaking daily here in Miami is not Spanish, is Castilian. And that was a way to unify and to take the identity of the different regions of Spain.
Yeah, once you put it Spanish, you control, again.
Well, exactly. It's a control entirely.
Put a label on it.
Exactly.
And so when is that project of yours due to come out?
As soon as I translate it, I want to propose it to some entities. I don't want for it to be a private entity. I want for it to be an institution, hopefully federal or state institute that provides the fund for that book to be printed. And then that book should go at the same time to be available for the people who don't want to have a printed matter in their hands. But to be printed is very important, because I tell you what is the third world war all about. It's going to be blowing up 2 satellites, and it's going to stop all the communication about where the money is and where the knowledge is. And if you don't have by that time some printed matter, you are not going to be able to teach anything to
you forget our history.
Exactly. So
and
people are
repeating.
People, oral, to be oral communication, just talking as it used to be in antique old tribes. That the old men would just talk to the younger, and they would passing in the knowledge like that. But in this case, we need the printed matter, and
we also have so much information nowadays.
Yes,
more than ever.
But a lot of it doesn't work. It doesn't help at all. Nowadays, for me to find the truth on a matter, it takes me probably 4 or 5 times more than it used to when I used to go to a library and check 2 books. Because the books were edited, they had the name of the person, so you know what the political inclination or religious inclination was, and then you could decipher. Nowadays,
now you know who's lying to you, who's real.
Most people are lying, not because they want to lie, it's because they want to be important.
I agree. So they end up putting a lot of their emotions into the story.
So and it's a lie, not with an intention, but for sure is sending you to the wrong place.
Ignorant lie. I say ignorance is both either not wanting or not knowing.
Well.
So I think a lot of people just don't know.
That's how the law treats you. And the judge is going to tell you, that's the law. But I didn't know it. I didn't do it. Well, that's not my problem. You didn't learn the law and you acted outside of the law. And you're guilty.
Well.
And we don't know that because we hired lawyers. If we would have to defend ourselves in front, we would learn quickly, rapidly.
But we don't have to right now. We have anonymity online. We can create any profile, say anything we want.
Yes.
And give ourselves that little hit of importance, as you say.
Yes and no. Yes and no. Because if you do something that's very damaging, they're going to be after you. And it's going to be physical.
And when you say that, what do you reference to?
If you do something that is going to damage a family because you said an information, somebody in that family will find you and will be out of the law.
That's one of the things that I don't see happening yet, because social media.
No, because the law doesn't. Just now in the state of Florida, we are having this law that kids under a certain age may not.
I love that, by the way.
Well, it's great, but how many parents are against. Oh, they're taking their freedom away. Yes, they are so young that they don't know what the word freedom means. So come on, don't give them, they should be able to handle this machine gun. Okay, give it to him. He will die in 10 minutes. He's not able, not trained to use that tool.
I just think common sense is not common.
No, never happened.
And when you actually talk truth and common sense, people who don't want to accept it won't accept it no matter what.
It happens something worse. It says, Jaime, I hate talking to you because you always think you have the right word. And I say, I expose things. I didn't say anything. It was right or wrong.
That happens to me a lot, believe it or not. People don't want to hang out with me because I'll usually say, I'll cut through the...
You question them.
Through the cloud and go to, you know.
And question them. That's all. But questioning doesn't mean that you are unrespectful. It's just, why don't we give a second thought to it? If at the second or the third thought, you keep on thinking the same way, you aren't it.
It's an ego, man. It's an ego. People don't want to be questioned for making decisions they think are right, even if they're wrong.
But that is majorly in the New World. If you go to Italy, in Italy they say, what? Are you sure? Please tell me. So you think I'm an idiot because one incredible. Can you tell me a little bit more? Because maybe I am an idiot and I have never seen myself.
So it's more the cynical culture.
No, but they truly ask for the information. They think that, if you go to Sweden, the people will say, you think, did I do something that gave you that point? They're taking you serious. They don't think that you're doing it but to diminish them. You're telling them that just to make them a better person. So if they haven't realized, for them to make the change. That's what is in their mind. But in the New World, remember, ignorant.
I'm always right.
Well, because that's what they thought. If you came in the Middle Ages, we come from that era, the Middle Ages, hungry, mistreated, not treated like a human being, but like an animal, or you were in prison because you went out and took the food from somebody else because you were starving.
Or you were a slave.
In some places, but the slavery was not, you were abused, let's put it this way. Slavery is something that when you think that person doesn't deserve the same type of life. But let's say you were abused. And those are the people that form this society we live in. That's where I come from. But I know it. So now that I know it, I can make the changes. But if I think I'm the top of the world because that's the only way to be, otherwise you're a loser, what is there for you to do?
Nothing. If you're perfect, there's nothing to improve.
Exactly. And that's why we are in the place and the step where we are right now.
Well, I really want to thank you for having this conversation. I always appreciate this type of mindset. And I don't think it's very common to have that type of thinking where you're still curious. You know, a lot of people have told you you're crazy. Hey, you're retired. What are you doing? Still learning. Why do you want to keep creating? And I think we need more people to be like that, to really be curious about how things work. How can I truly be free for myself before I can go ahead and interact with others, help others. So thank you so much for being here. If you ever need something from me, I function a little bit.
You have
I just can't put it on paper or into art.
But as I say, that's a project basically that I have right now that I need to push for, because I think the tool of knowledge is lacking out there, and if we lose the arts, and we're losing it in education, and right now the kids are not being taught art. Art is not something pretty. Art could be something ugly too. That's a decision that the artist made. So to think that art is pretty, no. Art is what's going to save our species, that's for sure. But pretty or beautiful or whatever, we can discuss another day that.
Well, I think we can discuss it various times. There's a lot of subject matter there. Nothing, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We're gonna leave Jaime's links to his social media, to his project, anything that he wants to be. If you do want to contact him, please go through these mediums. Leave me any comments, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye bye.
Bye.